Hi there, you're with the Birth Whisperer. My name is Anna Wild, and it is my mission to support you and give you the courage, calmness, and confidence that you need for giving birth. So, what are the most essential tools that you need for giving birth? And what if you had tools that could help you overcome stress and fear so that you could really discover your innate ability to give birth? If you'd like 4 simple tools to support you during birth, no matter how or where you give birth, then settle in and enjoy this fantastic interview with Susanna Heli. Susanna Heli is one of Sweden's most experienced doulas. She's a trained physiotherapist and she's the author of this amazing book, Confident Birth. I just love it and totally encourage you to get your hands on it. She's a lecturer and her confident birth method is now being taught all over Sweden, and midwives learn it and women learn it, and so it's encapsulated in her brilliant book. I am super excited to be sharing her knowledge with you today. She's got 2 children of her own, so she's been through birth and she's been at hundreds of births herself. So welcome, Susanna. I'm just so happy that you could share with us today. And I know that in your book you talk about these 4 tools that are so helpful for what? What are they helpful for?
The uniqueness with confident birth is actually that I haven't invented anything about confident birth. It's like a way of describing more how the body is working and how we can use this body, that has all this knowledge inside. And so the tools is a way of activating this inner ability. So it's not a technique you have to learn how to breathe or do this or do that. It's a technique that actually opens up what already is in there. So these 4 tools are this key into this physiological yes. Because this is what I've discovered during the years I worked with birth and when I gave birth myself, that there were actually a physiological no when the body is tensing up, working against, and it comes from evolution. It's really constructed this way because it helped us before, but it doesn't help us anymore because the fear can be contra.
Right? Can you explain what you mean about evolution and
of course. Yeah, it's that this body is actually designed from a long time. It's been designing this way of giving birth, these contractions, how we're working since 30,000 years. And before, we didn't give birth in this environment or hospitals. So fear, for instance, was a very important cue for surviving. And fear told the body it's not safe, so the body did its job and started working not to give birth. The adrenaline comes and takes away oxytocin, the muscles tense up, the fight or flight, the breathing is connected to fear. So the body does its job and protects us. Since it's not safe if there's a bear in the woods or there's a war going on or other threats. But today we don't have these outer threats anymore. But the body is coming from evolution, so it doesn't understand this. It's just responding to fear. So this is like a no, it's not safe. But at the same time, we don't have these problems as we did before. So when I understood this, I also understood if there's a no, there must be a yes. So as evolution has thought about the other side, is that there's also an emotion that tells the body, now it's time to give birth, now it's safe. And that is confidence and safety. So on the other side, there is this yes that actually calms the body, lets the pelvic floor relax, calms down the breathing, lets out this amazing hormone oxytocin. That is the key, because if you look at it, oxytocin is the pleasure hormone, and birth. Why is this?
Right. Yeah, because so maybe you can start taking us through these tools that help us to, I don't know what you would say, like approach birth differently, more confidently, with less fear. And I know I'm really excited because even you just saying this feeling of yes, I know that comes into the tools, but we'll get to that later. Yes. So let's move into the tools.
So we use the emotion as the key into the inner ability. So the 4 tools that Confident Birth uses is the body's expression for the feeling confidence and safety, and by that taking the body to its ability. So the first tool in the contraction would be breathing. So we simply use the opposite to how we breathe when we're afraid, when there's a lot of tension. We use the soft, calm, natural breathing, as you and I breathe now, Doesn't make any sounds, but there's no rule how you breathe or how I breathe. This is the same through contraction. The only thing is soft and silent. And just by this, we take it towards safety. And the next tool would be to do the opposite again to tensing and fighting against. It's just letting go and relaxing. Relaxation is the opposite to fear and stress. So you become heavy, because also which direction is the body working? It's working downwards, the uterus, the baby. So you put yourself in the same direction with the body. And also always in birth there comes sounds. This is natural because it's a physical experience, and the body needs help for getting more power, and then the voice comes to help us. And what happens with this voice in fear? It goes up in a high pitch, and the body. So you do the opposite there also. You use the dark pitch. Also to how do you say, loosen the abdominal pressure. That's also there to help us push, lead the baby down in the body, and to keep the breathing calm. So it has all these layers of the opposite towards this tension. All of these things in the contraction. And the last tool is that even if there's a physiological, evolutionary no and yes, there's also, of course, a person there, a woman, an individual who has her emotions that she also needs to handle and cope. So we need to include this dimension of being a human. So if you say physiological no, what is the word you say when you're not wanting to give birth? You say no, I don't want to, it's not possible. So you just do the opposite here. You say yes. So the fourth tool is to actually, in the contraction, just say this word yes, because no is no and yes is yes. And it deepens the power of the mind, including with the physiological dimension.
Right, so that fourth tool, I think in the book you call it the power of the mind.
Yeah.
And you recommend that people have a word, and it may be yes. You really encourage the word yes, and I like that too. But there might be another word that people use that they find really powerful too.
Of course. And also when I'm working with women, I've attended more than 300 births. It's not like, for some it is actually, but for most of us it's not like, yes, I'm so, having such a good time, it's just easy. It's not this kind of yes. It's like a deep yes to the body and the baby, It's a yes to, I don't have an idea what's going on, but I say yes to it because I understand that it will help me more. And this was also how it was for me, because I gave birth like in an hour, my second child, and I was like, no, what should I do? And my partner just said yes, and I felt like, okay, you're crazy, but at the same time, this is all I can do, because otherwise it's going to be very, very hard for me. So the yes is a way of accessing this surrendering mechanism, where you can let go, even if you don't know exactly what you're doing or why. But other words can be, down, baby, or there's picture visualization, seeing flower. Everyone has its own power of the mind, what's working.
It's so beautiful. And I really love the way it's so simple, Susanna. Like, it's just these 4 tools to keep in mind, and for, I guess, your support person to encourage you in. And it really makes it so easy to come back to these things. And I wonder if we can just touch on a couple more aspects from these tools. Like, one thing in the first tool, in the breathing tool, you talked about finishing contractions with a sigh. And I love this.
Yeah. And when I get letters from women that reads the book and they say, "Oh, this sigh was so important." Oh, and I was like, "What is it with this sigh?" I wrote the whole book and they talk about this sigh, but the sigh is the body's natural way of letting go, also of tension, of surrendering into the relaxation, because the contraction is the center of the birth, and the contraction is designed as everything in the body with breathing. There's breathing in, breathing out, the heartbeat, everything has a rhythm. So the sigh helps us to get in touch with these two parts of the contraction. We have the actual work, and then we have the rest, and both of them are the contraction together. So the sigh actually gives the woman contact with this very important rest that is in between, and lets go of the contraction that she just finished. That is also all we know, that contraction is finished, but we don't know how many we have ahead.
So you're saying that just like when the contraction starts to die away, how would you use that sigh?
Yeah, actually, when it's all gone and the body is silent again as much as it can be, that's when you decide, okay, now it's ended. So with your support person, this is also how he or she knows, now the contraction is starting. We work with the 4 tools. Okay, now it's ended. We sigh together and we rest, we eat, we kiss, we laugh, whatever the body needs to do in this very important. Because when they're stressed, the women, they lose contact with this rhythm. Yeah, so this is a very, very powerful way of keeping contact with this 60 seconds of work, and then as long or short as the rest can be. So the sigh is the rhythm together with the contraction.
Right, because I think so many women, there is an over focus on the actual work part of the contraction, and they completely forget or don't know that there's actually a really pleasant rest time.
Exactly, and the body has designed this. It made a plan actually. Like, we don't breathe in a whole day and we don't breathe out a whole day. So it's designed this that they're both equally important, but because of the power for some, in the contraction, it gets all the attention, but the rest is as important. So there you get this feeling, okay, now it's rest. And sometimes it's 30 minutes, sometimes it's 20 seconds, but it's always there, always.
Brilliant. So just moving on to the second tool again, relaxation. And one thing I really liked was this idea of being actively passive.
Exactly.
What do you mean by that?
So it's like we talk in our classes for becoming parents, that as how can you relax in the contraction, and you talk about control and that women have a need to control today. There's many discussions negatively about control, but at the same time control is important. But what is important is to control what you can control and not what you can't control. So this is why we also work with to take this active decision, because that gives you a feeling of choice, and choice is to go with the contraction and to become passive and let the body do its work. So it's to combine these 2 dimensions instead of making them wrong or right.
And so how do you become more passive? How do you relax?
So it's just thinking like when you're in water and you're like floating, and you would let go the whole body and let go down towards the bottom, and you use the 3 spots that we have in confident birth, because evolutionary, it's in the jaw, in the shoulders, and then in the thighs. So you just let go of the jaw, you let go of the shoulders, and you fully relax down in the whole thighs, bottom, everything, and you become heavy. This is all you need to think about, to be heavy. Women are so beautiful when you do this and you say this, like, get heavy. The support person reminds her, and they just let go and they just sink down into the contraction.
Yeah.
So we also talk about that the contraction has a bottom instead of a top, because it's easier to think that you're gliding down into the bottom of the contraction, and then it turns and you come up again. So it gives this picture, visualization.
Fantastic. And I love the use of the word heavy too. Just brilliant.
Yeah.
And so moving into the third tool of sound, can you give some examples of what sort of sounds people would actually make? Like, many of us are not used to making sounds.
This is in my classes also. We have to laugh a little bit and make it a little bit easier because sounds are very suppressed, and we have a lot of, we don't go walk around and just make sounds, on the streets. But in birth, this is extremely natural because of the physical level as well. It needs this help from the body. So everywhere when we need more power, the sound comes to help us. And we had a man who was a weightlifter, and he understood totally because they use sounds a lot. So it can be a very dark pitch, and you can both use the closed mouth and just make like an throughout the exhale. How do you say when you're exhaling? Or you can have it more like open and do an like You do it deep down into the body, and you follow the contraction with the sound down into the pelvic. So it's just a dark pitch, and you can do a vocal. This is mostly easier than of course a consonant or something else. So
as opposed to, what would the opposite of that be that you wouldn't want?
Yeah, this is, and when we do our exercises, you can also feel how the stomach, the pelvic floor, everything is lifting when you do the high pitch, And when I was walking in the corridors of the hospital, I could hear, where is the woman? Is she in fear or is she in safety by how she was sounding, And it's like this, when the sound goes up and the power goes out of the mouth instead of this, and we always laugh because when we give birth, this is like, you can't do that sound without being in birth, but you can at least get close to it by doing this dark pitch. So avoiding this dark, high pitch, and instead just going, and I always say to midwives when I'm teaching them, and always to tell women, make as much sound as you want, but do it dark. And to stand there and help her to find this. And they always do, because the body wants to go to this simple direction where it gets access again to itself. So it's very beautiful. But the women need us to do it with them. They don't do what we say. We have to go into the same dimension and make the sound or say yes. So this is important for the support person to actually precipitate, be there and do it together with her.
Right. Oh, Susanna, it's been so fantastic just talking through these 4 tools, and I'm imagining and wishing them to go out into the world and really support women as they give birth, and with the use of your absolutely fabulous book, and which I really like the size. Like, it will fit into a birth bag really, really easily. Not that you'd need it necessarily during your birth to, have a read, but it's a lovely size, and so short, not short, but it's easy to read. Like, it's not excessive. Yeah, so beautiful, wonderful work.
Yeah. The women just have it in the bag and read it in like 2 or 3 days, and then access this simple knowledge, but so amazing that we have inside, and that we can just open up and help the body find.
Yeah, wonderful.
And just say yes instead of no. This is like that's it to remember. Whatever, just try it. 3 contractions.
Yeah. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Susanna.
Thank you. I'm so grateful to talking to you, and that you took the time to interview me here from Sweden also.
Thanks for watching. If you've been inspired, please share, because your voice supports respectful, positive childbirth for women and babies all over the world. Make a comment, send this link to your friends, post on Facebook, and sign up for more birth wisdom and birth confidence that I share in emails at thebirthwhisperer.com.